We all need to support the global goals.
And the last factor I want to mention is resilience, the capability to bounce back, because there will be certainly what we call the black swans, the unpleasant surprises which will come in our way. The most important factor to master the future is leadership. History is truly at a turning point. Global energy systems, food systems, and supply chains will be deeply affected. In times of crisis, the role of governments is more important and more relevant than ever. The profound challenges to mankind, such as climate change, are globally interconnected and require collaborative responses.
ID cards once again back on the agenda. We've been here before.
Yeah, and I think Downing Street are clearly desperate to show that they're doing everything they can to find solutions to this. In fact, the Prime Minister's official spokesman said yesterday they are looking at, quote, anything that works. And so we've had a series of announcements since Monday when MPs returned to Westminster. The latest idea is looking again at digital ID cards. Now, that was very much downplayed by the government pretty recently when it was raised. But Downing Street say the debate has changed. And I think significantly, they say people's expectations have changed. And so ministers are now looking again at the possibility of everybody having a unique ID, which they can use to prove that they are in this country illegally when applying for a job, for example, or paying bills and so on. The idea being to stop people being able to work in the so-called black economy and to reduce what are called the pull factors drawing people to this country, which is something President Macron asked Keir Starmer to look at when he was here earlier this year. Now, if all of this sounds a little bit familiar, yes, it is, because the last Labour government tried to do this. Tony Blair and David Blunkett wanted to bring in a national ID card, but in the end that was scrapped by the coalition government because of concerns over the cost and over civil liberties. And some people say those concerns remain.
These types of systems collect vast amounts of personal information in centralised government databases that then become honeypots for hackers. And so there are real implications for the privacy, security and data rights of the whole population. France itself has mandatory ID cards, and that hasn't stopped an underground economy existing there.
Digital ID for me is a very big part of the future, and let me explain why. So if you take the changes you've been making at Bank, because you've become not just a bank, but also a technology company, right? And you've been using technology to change the whole way you interact with your customers. So digital ID is for me absolutely crucial because, for example, on COVID, what is the problem with this coronavirus? The problem is it's not a disease that's so serious that it's like the plague, right? Most people who get it will survive it. However, it's bad enough, and we all know people who've had it and had it badly enough that you don't want to get it. So the problem is you have to lock down the entire economy in order to deal with the small number of people who get it and are going to suffer badly. A way out of this is to be able to test people several times and for people to actually have a biometric identity which can say, look, I've been tested or I've had the disease and here are my antibodies, so that life can get back to normal. So your digital ID can play a part in COVID, but also if you think of the transactions that you want to do now with your customers, it's much simpler for them if they have a digital identity. Or you take the big issue in the Western world today, which is, quite apart from COVID, I would say is worries about immigration, who has the right to be in your country, who has the right not to be. without a form of identity, it's very hard to tell who's got a right to be in a country, who's not. So inevitably, governments are going to move in this direction. Absolutely inevitably.
Immigration doesn't just happen. You've been told it's random, strategic, and uncontrollable, but that's a lie. Mass migration is a strategy, and like every strategy, it has sponsors. Think about it. Nobody crosses continents by accident. Planes, boats, housing, NGOs, lawyers, it's all financed. And who pays for that? Governments, supranational institutions, foundations backed by billionaires. It's not the immigrants who designed this. They are the pawns moved on a board they didn't build. Why would European governments allow millions of unregulated entries? Well, simple. Cheap labor for corporations, a divided, desperate workforce that will accept lower wages. A fractured society that never unites against the elite. Keep people fighting about culture instead of class, right? A pressure to justify surveillance and more state control. Terror attacks, organized crime, is the perfect excuse for digital IDs, border biometrics, and militarized policing. There is evidence everywhere. NGOs like Open Society Foundations openly fund migration networks in Europe. EU programs like the European Asylum, Migration and Integration Fund allocate billions to facilitate mobility. Governments sign UN compacts on migration that commit to increasing, not reducing inflows. Corporations lobby for migrant labor through chambers of commerce and industry groups. When you trace the money, it doesn't end with refugees. It ends with bankers, NGOs, and politicians who benefit from the chaos. The average citizen sees immigrants on the street and think they are the problem. Wrong target. The problem is the system that engineered their arrival while pretending it was all humanitarian. If it was humanitarian, why do the same governments bombing or destabilizing countries abroad like Libya, Syria, and Afghanistan also fund the rescue operation to Europe? They create a fire, then move the people as collateral. And here's the trick. The chaos is intentional. You get angry at the immigrant family moving into your neighborhood, while the billionaire class who paid for their journey hides in the shadow. Divide and rule version 2.0. While you argue over flags, accents, and skin color, the same corporations tighten control over land, housing, and resources. So, the truth? Immigration is not an accident, and immigrants are not the masterminds. It's a managed strategy, sponsored, directed, and enforced by the same powers that profit from your poverty. The real enemy isn't the person crossing the border, it's the hand that opened the border in the first place.
Okay, the fact that you want to put the decline of this country on the fact that there's a bit of paper washing around is laughable.
I'm not saying it's all about that.
Down to your Chancellor and nothing else. But apart from that, the problem with digital ID, and I read this article by Pat McFadden today, who's Tony Blair's mouthpiece, because Tony Blair wants this because he's going to make zillions from it, by the way. It's the only thing he talks about. There is only one line in this whole article which, for me, is absolutely critical, and that is that it's going to be so easy to do all of the things that you've just said. You can even collect your supermarket loyalty points on it. That is the scariest line in that whole article. You know why? Because eventually, Kai, when we have this whole thing where you can't do anything in society without your digital ID, not only will you be able to collect your supermarket points on it, which sounds all lovely, when you've eaten too much beef because you've overstepped your carbon footprint, it won't let you buy it at the tills. When you go to fill up your car, it won't let you put petrol in. And when you haven't been a nice person online, it won't let you get on an airplane. This is the start of a social credit system. It's wrong, and everybody should say no, and I will say no. We have a passport. They know who I am. That's enough.
Just think of the power of the combination of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and big data. So it's a combination of the different technologies which really bring the fundamental change. And finally, I think we have to be prepared for a world where we see a fusion of our physical, our digital, and our biological dimensions. So it will be a world integrating the physical, biological, and the digital dimensions. So it will be a new world. And I'm looking for a minister in 10 years, probably it will be completely different from what it is now.
I think the big battle in this regard in the 21st century will be between privacy and health will win. Most people will be willing to give up their privacy in exchange for much better healthcare based on 24 hours monitoring of what's happening inside their bodies. I guess very soon people will walk around with biometric sensors on or even inside their bodies and will allow Google or Facebook or the Chinese government or whoever to constantly monitor what's happening inside my body, so that, you know, the day the first cancer cell starts to multiply and spread, somebody at Google or at the health authority will know and will be able very easily to nip the cancer in the bud. And the day that a flu epidemic starts, they immediately know, oh, a flu epidemic is starting, and they know who are the people who are carrying it, and they can take very effective and quick and cheap action to prevent it. So the promises are enormous. Just think of, I don't know, a place like North Korea. People walking around with these biometric bracelets, and you walk into a room and you see a picture of Kim Jong-un on the wall, and something happens to your blood pressure that the algorithm correlates with some bad emotion like anger, and that's the end of you.
Something wicked this way comes. Something extremely wicked this way comes. I know a lot of you out there can feel it in your bones. You can feel it in the atmosphere that something very eerie is happening. Something very not so okay is about to go down. And I've, have a lot of conversation. You watch a lot of people talking about it. We are very concerned because they can feel it. They can truly feel it in their bones, in their spirit, that something is about to happen. And it's already happening on a smaller scale, right? We are having public assassinations. We are having a point where a president is declaring war against his own subjects. Something never ever before seen, where a president is telling his subjects to go after one another and just do what they have to do, right? The blame game, right? What is all done by design. They need the chaos, right? And the level of chaos we're about to be subjected to, it will truly shake a lot of people to the core, because you weren't prepared for it. You didn't prepare yourself for it. You didn't recognize it for what it is. You thought it was a joke. You called it conspiracy theory. You called it all kinds of names. In your defense, ignorance is bliss, because you thought if you can ignore it, then it will go away. Well, you cannot ignore this away. You cannot ignore it away. It is here. And the sooner you understand it, the sooner you wake up and smell the coffee, the quicker you are mentally prepared for what is about to go down. Because believe you me, it is nothing nice we're about to face. And you don't have time to be playing with it. You don't have time to be, lollygagging with your thumb up your ass and twirling on it. You don't have that kind of time, man. You see, and the warnings are going out, letting you know that It's getting crazy. It's getting really crazy. And all of this is done by design. So they can bring in this, the globalists can bring in this new way of living. And before the world will accept this new way of living, they have to truly shake the core of everybody, right? They have to bring the squeeze. That's that pressure from below, pressure from above. And then they will squeeze you to the point where anything they present to you, you would jump on it. The same Klaus Schwab talked about how there is no going back to the good old days. That is fiction. That was he made that statement. There's no going back to the good old days. And that's why everything has progressively been getting worse. Since 2020, since the whole pandemic thing, right? Things have been progressively worse to where we are today, where people are ready. There is no love in the streets. People are ready to be at each other's throats. And believe you me, it is done by design because they need to bring about this new way of living. And I put together a couple of clips to kind of to drive that point home. Here you have, it says, remember when Klaus Schwab predicted Black Swan events, unexpected events with extreme paradigm shifting consequences on the horizon. And we just saw a live public assassination happen. Everybody saw, everybody and their mama and their children saw it, right? That is that part of that unexpected event. You didn't think something like that was going to happen in your lifetime like that. Because normally when people get shot up like that, you see the aftermath of it. The news reported, over the weekend, something like that happened. And, they show you the mugshot or some pictures, still pictures of, the victims. But you actually witness this right in front of you. Right, you witness this in front of you. Before we go any further, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Ruach HaKodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continue to teach us this truth. Peace, salutation, shalom, shalom, shalom to all your brothers and sisters out there that are of the household of faith, beginning with 144,000 down to the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in this latter days, who are all of the elect, and to the brothers that are pushing this gospel in all sincerity and in all honesty, to you all, I say shalom, right? And there we have it, man. Things are escalating rapidly. It's like you wake up every morning and something else is like if you blink, you miss it. You can't even blink. That's how in successions, things are just happening one after the other, right? You can't even, before you get mad at this one, because they need you triggered. They need you all the way triggered. Not only that, they need you out of your wits. Because believe you me, they're not really concerned about the people that are asleep. Because they got you already. They got you by the balls. They got you where they want you. Who they are trying to come after are those that can see it for what it is. Those that understand what is going on. Those that are awake to the bull crap that is happening. So they're trying to bombard you with a lot of events to the point where it will shake you to your core. You start, acting out of emotions, right? This is what they are doing to get you so riled up that you act out emotions. As for the regular Joes out there, they got them where they want them. That's why they are all losing it, seriously losing it. This is not the time for you to lose your cool because you haven't seen anything yet. You haven't seen nothing yet, right? Because this is their prediction and it's happening right in front of your face. It says there will be certainly what we call black swans, the unpleasant surprises. You see that? The unpleasant surprises which will come in our way. It says what these black swan events are planned to be, and it's all happening. And the whole thing with the with Charlie is part of that unexpected surprises. That is what it is. And it's brought to you by these guys, the globalists, which Bill Gates, that's what he called them, the world global, whatever, right? They're all over the world because they're looking to establish a new way of living. And for them to do that, they have to totally collapse the present world. And for them to collapse, it means they have to come down hard on everything you know, everything you believe. They would just totally crumble everything to the point where people would just be like, what we got to do now? Just tell us whatever it is we got to do, we'll do it, right? Whatever it is we have to do, we'll just do it. Here again, Klaus Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum, says history is truly at a turning point. Global energy systems, food systems, and supply chains will be deeply affected. That is where we are. That is exactly where we are. It's in times of crisis, the role of a government is more important and more relevant than ever. You see that? So they need that crisis so they can take control, total control. Regular people will relinquish their rights because of chaos, right? You want things to go back to the imaginary normalcy, right? So you relinquish your rights or whatever just so you can go on social media and vent. You can go and get your likes and do your TikTok challenges and things like that, right? It is where we are. It says the profound challenges to mankind, such as climate change and are globally interconnected and require collaborative responses. Translation: due to our manufactured energy crisis, contrived food shortages, and deliberate sabotage of global supply chains, we must grant governments more authoritarian control while simultaneously using the imaginary climate crisis as a pretext to gradually chip away at national sovereignty and representative democracy and incrementally install one world government administered by the unelected technocrats in their place. You see, so I kind of like broke it down for you to understand what it's really about. So everything that is happening doesn't require you to just lash out and crash out because this is what they want you to do. So you blame everybody else but them, right? That's what is happening. They've managed to convince people to manipulate the response of people. That is that Hegelian dialectic, right? They give you a problem, right? They produce a problem, and then your reaction to that problem is manipulated, right? They manipulate the way you react to that problem so that it will bring about their solution to that problem, which the solution is the reason why the problem was created in the first place. You see, take 2020. What happened in 2020? They have to give you the boogeyman and tell you that for you to not fall victim to the boogeyman, you need to give us your arm so we can put this thing inside of you, right? That was a serious trial run, and a lot of people failed that. And now we're about to be faced with the real deal, which that part of that real deal, like you heard this guy talking about digital IDs and things like that. The one I want to get is here, right here. That this is the real deal. Say Klaus Schwab, we have to be prepared for a world where we see a fusion of our physical, our digital, and our biological dimensions, right? So what is that? That is the fourth industrial revolution. This is where we are. So for them to get people to be okay to be walking around as cyborgs, I don't know if you played the game Cyberpunk 2077. And if you play that game, this is the future they want. This is the future they want, to be able to have people have reproducts that will augment you with technology. You'll be walking around cyber-psychoed out, cyber-psychosis. There's a lot of things, you have to, if you're playing the game as V, you have to go out there and take out a lot of psychotic individuals because they've gone cuckoo because of all the, like it says here, you have to be prepared to see a fusion of our physical and digital. So your biological aspect of it, we are biological beings, right? And they will merge you with technology. If you play that game, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You're walking around all cyborged out and ready to go mayhem on the place and just lose it, because your body is not designed to be like that. They've been working like that, but this is what they want. So for them to bring about this new way, this new digital age, guess what? They have to totally crush the spirit of the people. They have to totally collapse the present day. Hence why you have the mass migrations that are happening all throughout the world, right? The migrations that are happening is so they can be like, oh, like you even had this guy here. You know, this guy talked about that also. What is his name? Damn, I can't remember his name. I don't know if he has his name. Tony Blair, right? Tony Blair. He was talking about, he mentioned that, said how we need the digital ID because, you know, the mass migrations, you have to keep tabs on the people and, you know, with the jabs, you know, we have to keep tabs on the people that are, you see? So all of this is done by design. It is all done by design. They needed the present collapse of the system, right? So they can be like, okay, this is the solution. The solution is everybody has to have the mark of the beast, pretty much. Everybody has to have the mark of the beast. And these are things that are happening that you cannot afford to be ignorant of. Whether you're ready or not, these things are happening. These guys, they can't wait to bring it to pass. These individuals, man, they can't wait to really have this NWO up and running. They are far behind even. So you should be very, very aware of this. Don't play it off. See that right there? Don't play it off. See, which brings us here. Let's hit the scriptures real quick. This is in the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 5th chapter and the 15th verse. It says, be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or small. In other words, you got to keep your eyes peeled, so to speak. You got to keep your ears to the street. You got to be very aware of what is happening around you, right? Understand what the deal is. Understand what the wicked elites are coming with. Understand in the whole deceptive and the whole propagandas and things that are using to get you out of your game, right? To have you totally confused and discombobulated, right? In the midst of all of that, you have to be really aware of what is happening behind the scenes. You have to be really aware of what is truly going down beneath the whole charade, beneath the whole lies and, you know, the box of lies and the bubble of deception that they've put people in. You have to be able to peek through the veil and see the man behind the curtain, right? So be not ignorant. Understand what is going on around you. Don't be easily manipulated, you know, through your emotions and things like that. Because that's what they get at. Because when you're emotional like that, you get out of your, you know, out of your element, right? You'll be easily played with because you're not moving logically. You're not moving in the way you're supposed to. Because you're going about your feelings, man. And feelings can be wrong. You see? That's why you have to be deeply rooted in the truth. The wisdom and the understanding, talking about ignorant. This is 1 Corinthians, the 14th chapter, and the 38th verse. It says, but if any man be ignorant, let him be ignorant. So with all the information that is out there, I mean, we're living in an information age, with all the whistleblowers, with all the prophets, with all the men of the Lord that are out there telling you about these things, warning you about these things. A lot of people are feeling it in the air. They feel that something is happening, right? You know, they go on TikTok or whatever space that they have to voice how they feel, and other people respond to it and be like, yo, we feel the same way. We feel like something is about to happen, right? We feel it in the air and all of that. So with all this level of exposure and truth out there, if you still want to be ignorant and think that, you know, you can just ignore all this thing away, guess what? Go right ahead. But that will be at your own detriment. That will be your own undoing. And back to the wicked elites and what they're looking to accomplish. This is the book of Psalms, the 2nd chapter and the 1st verse. It says, the reign of the Lord's anointed. It says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? And what is that? Well, that's Tony Blair talking about cyber polygon, cyber attack simulation. Tony Blair explains why digital ID is very part of the future. So this is part of their that imagining a vain thing, trying to put people in a digital quagmire, right? Here you have it. Digital ID is the hill to die on. All the other totalitarian technologies, including CBDCs, social credit systems, personal carbon allowances, and 15-minute cities depend on digital ID being in place first. You see? And I'll put together this clip, you will see it. This is the start of social credit system, right? Says Dr. Renee, I can't pronounce that. Says on the UK government's mission to introduce mandatory digital ID, right? Says when you've eaten too much beef and all of that, this is all part of the imaginations of the wicked elites. And you have here Yuval Noah Harari. Most people will be willing to give up their privacy in exchange for much better healthcare based on a 24-hour monitoring of what's happening inside their bodies. Going back to this statement that Klaus Schwab made here, it says why we have to be prepared for a world where we see a fusion of physical and digital and biological dimensions merged together, the fourth industrial revolution. So that's what he's saying. So they'll be like, oh, if you want to have good health care and all of that, you have to allow us to put all these devices inside of you. See? So this is all the vain thing that the wicked elites are imagining, the heathens are imagining, right? So that's what the Lord is saying here. Why do the heathen rage? Because they're raging against the machine to bring about their technology by these technocrats, these overlords, right? To bring about this NWO, the Great Reset, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is a vain thing. It says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? So the kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. So this is what is happening. They have all these meetings in the UNs and the WEFs and the WHO and things like that, trilateral commissions and, events like that that come together in Davos or wherever it is, Bilderberg groups and things like that, right? To hash out, all their plans, all their agendas and how to go about it. So that's what the scripture is letting you know, that this is happening. You cannot ignore it away. They are these kings of the earth, the rulers of the earth. They come together and plan this future to the point where you have their minions like Klaus Schwab and things coming out and telling you we have to be prepared. You have to be prepared for your body to be embedded with technology in it. You see? This is where we are. So with all the ways that the media is trying to galvanize your minds to be worried about the wrong things, this is actually what is about to happen. It says, he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, the Lord shall have them in derision. You see? So the Lord is looking at them like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Excuse my French, right? Because at the end of the day, life cannot be sustained with the way they're doing with the 5Gs and the 6Gs and all this, cell towers that they're putting everywhere that is killing everything, polluting the air, polluting everything, destroying everything in their path. You see? So then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Right? It says, yet have I set my king upon the holy hill, which going into the Lord, our Lord Yahushua, I will declare the decree. The Lord has said unto me, thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Going into the promise that was made to our lords, right? Our Lord Yahushua, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Going back to the matter at hand, the book of Job, the 5th chapter and the 12th verse, it says, he, who is the he? Well, the Lord that will laugh at them, right? We were here earlier. Say, he that sitteth in the heaven shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. So that's the same he here. And then the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, he disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. So they're very crafty the way they're trying to merge the biological aspect of humans with technology, right? The physical with tech and all of that, things like that. You see what I'm saying? AI and all of that, the technocrats. So that is how crafty they are. But the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, will disappoint them. In other words, they will fail in all their agendas. Eventually, they will fail. But before they fail, they will bring all hell upon the earth. All hell is about to break loose. It says, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. Orvis Novus Seclorum, I believe. Orders Novus Seclorum, I believe. He crowned our enterprise with success. Things like that. Novus Orders Seclorum, I believe. The order of the new age. You have the other one, Anuit Coeptes. That is their enterprise that has been crowned. They're looking to crown that enterprise with success. But the Most High would disappoint that. In other words, they won't be able to fully erect that. You see? Say he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong, right? So all the things they're planning to do, the future, the Most High got them doing that to ultimately bring their own demise, right? Now you have nuclear weapons and all of that. What do you think? They're going to shoot at them and destroy their own infrastructure, destroy their whole, their whole kingdom, their whole rulership. You see? They have AI technology that they can't really control, and they just set it loose out in the world. What do you think is going to happen? So the Most High is taking them in their own craftiness, right? What they're planning to do, the Most High is taking them because the Most High controls the minds of men. He controls what men do at the end of the day. It says, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. It says, they meet with darkness in daytime and grope in noonday as in the night. So that's all these meetings that they go to plan about how to subjugate earth and put them in this digital world, this digital concentration camp. You see? But he saveth the poor from the sword, because the sword is coming. The sword is coming. The wicked elites, they are not going down without a fight. The sword is coming. And for them to be able to get people to be okay to put the mark of the beast inside of them, well, they're about to do a lot of bloodshed, man. A lot of bloodshed that will shake the world to the very core. It says from their mouth and from the hand of the mighty. Who are the mighty? Well, we just saw a couple of them. Klaus Schwabs and their like, which they're just minions. The real top echelon of these guys are the top wicked elites. Rothschild, Rockefellers, Oppenheimers, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the usual suspects. You see? Who are all Edomites. It says, so the poor hath hope, and iniquity stoppeth her mouth. Right? And this is where we are with it. And, I'll stop it right there. Hopefully, you've been edified by that. Just a little something to update you of what is going on. And with that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruchah HaKodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone. See you next time, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom.